Hello everyone, welcome to Tathastu ICS. My name is Pooja Sharma and today I am here with this new video which is actually based on so many queries which you have sent that how to fill your DAF. That DAF is detailed application form. So your prelims examination is out, okay, and there are so many students who have cleared this main prelims examination and they are going to appear for the mains. Now before that UPSC actually going to give you one DAF and you have to fill the DAF and send it to UPSC. So last date to fill this DAF right now is 25th, right? So if you have any query from this particular video, you can resolve your queries. Other than that, you can ask your query in the comment section as well. So without wasting time, let's start. How can you fill your DAF? I have taken one of the final PDF of the DAF and I can tell you, obviously the entries are going to be same, but when you are going to fill in your, you are going to go to the website and then you are going to start filling your DAF a detailed application form, then it is not going to look exactly like this, but the entries are going to be same, okay, because this is a final PDF, okay. So let's see which important information UPSC is going to ask you. You all know that before that, when you were, filling your form for the prelims examination, the first form, at that point of time also UPSC asked you to fill a detailed application form. So that was also a DAF. And this time again UPSC want you to fill the same information again. But it doesn't mean that you have to write the same information. Obviously, your name is going to be same, your address is going to be same, but the areas such as hobbies, your interest, there you can make necessary changes. So it is not like that you have to write everything which you have written in your first DAF in this particular DAF. You can change few things. There will be another DAF. At the moment you will clear your mains examination, there will be another DAF which you are going to fill. And the similar kind of information UPSC is going to ask you again, okay. So let's see what all UPSC is going to ask you. First UPSC will ask you about your name. You are going to write your complete name which is mentioned in your 10th class certificate, okay. Which is mentioned in your 10th class certificate. Here you will mention your name, okay. Then have you ever changed your name or not? If you have, it is very rare that someone is going to change his or her name, but if you have ever changed your name, you are going to mention here yes, otherwise it will be no. Other than that, UPSC will ask you your email ID. Make sure the ID which you are going to give have a very decent nomenclature. Don't give something that is not appropriate or not formal. Have something that is decent looking Gmail you need to have. Then you need to give your 10-digit mobile number. Along with that, UPSC, whenever UPSC is going to ask you to upload your photo, UPSC, what kind of photo you will have. So your photo will be there. Below the photo you need to write your name. So your name should be there, and below that there should be a date on which the photo was taken. So you need to, upload that photo only. So the photo format should be your photo. Here you will have your photo, then your name, the same name which is there, and along with that the date on which that particular photo was taken. After that, then UPSC is obviously going to ask you about your date of birth. So you are going to mention your date of birth in this format. This is your date, this is your month in which you were born, and this is the year in which you were born, right? So if you are claiming for age relaxation, you will mention here yes, otherwise you will mention here no. Then UPSC is going to ask you about your address. So address of correspondence, to which communication is to be sent. So my suggestion is you need to write an address which is your permanent house address. For example, you are living in Chandigarh, but right now you are in Delhi, okay, living somewhere, let's say in Patel Nagar or Old Rajendra Nagar. So try not to give that address, okay, Old Rajendra Nagar and Patel Nagar, because it can change any time. And this is going to be the address where the UPSC can actually going to communicate. So you please give your address of your hometown, or if you have a house, anywhere if you have a house, you give that address. Right. Obviously, you can give address of your rented accommodation as well, but my suggestion is to give your address from where you can have your someone permanently going to stay there. So here UPSC is going to ask you one line. So in one line you need to, for example, if your house number is 60, then you are going to mention, let's say you are living in New Friends Colony. Okay. Then you are going to mention the post office. If you are living in the village, then this matters a lot, post office. Otherwise, you are living in metro area. In metro area, you can actually search whichever post office is nearest to you. They will give you the name. City you would be knowing. For example, if you are, let's say you are from Jalandhar, your city will be Jalandhar. And again the district will be the same if you are living in the city. Other than that, this will change. Your state Punjab, and then you have to mention the proper pin code. Okay, so there should not be any issue in filling your address part. Now the telephone number, if you don't have a telephone number with STD code, right, then you can just say dash, okay, not applicable at all. You need not to fill everything. UPSC will make the star mark on the entries which are actually mandatory to fill. For example, date of birth. You cannot skip this part because this is something which is very important. On this part, telephone number with STD code, there will be no star mark. So even if you are not going to fill, you are going to leave this part, it is totally fine. Mobile number, same mobile number you will give. Then alternate mobile number also you need to provide, right? So you need to give 2 mobile number. Make sure but the kind of mobile number you are giving. If you have your own mobile number, that is a good. Then try to give your parents' mobile number. Then fax number, if you have, then give. You don't have, you need not to give your fax number. It is not a star entry. Then email address, it is very mandatory. You have to fill your email address. Then your permanent postal address. Okay, so this is the address of correspondence where UPSC is going to send the necessary document. Then this is your permanent postal address. Permanent means where there is your house. So in most of the cases, this address and this address is going to be same. Okay, this address is going to be same, right? In my suggestion, you keep these 2 address same only. Unless, for example, if you are already in government services and you are staying somewhere, you know, away from your parents, and then you can fill that particular address in your correspondence, right? Now, next part. After that, you need to mention your gender, male or female, and there will be an option of others also, right? Then your marital status, if married, then you need to mention the nationality of your spouse also. In most of the cases, it will be unmarried, but if you are married, then there will be another, you know, there will be another option will be popped out, and in the bracket you can mention the nationality, that she is Indian or she is not Indian or from outside. Then your citizenship. Citizenship will be mostly citizen of India only. Then your nationality, that would be Indian, right? So these are going to be almost same only for everyone. Then your mother tongue. So what is your mother tongue? For example, if you hail from Uttar Pradesh or Bihar, your mother tongue is Hindi. If you hail from Haryana also, your mother tongue is Hindi only. Okay, you try not to write Haryani, but if you are Punjab, your mother tongue is Punjabi. You need to mention the language. Okay, not the dialect. Okay, you can mention, for example, if you are from Rajasthan, you mention Hindi only. If you are from Gujarat, you mention Gujarati. If you are from Tamil Nadu, you mention Tamil as your mother tongue. Okay, then your place of birth. Okay, where you were actually born. You cannot lie here. Okay, because they are going to verify everything. If you are born in India, you need to mention the post office, nearest post office. How would you know about that post office? Internet. For example, you are born in Panipat. that in Panipat and that place you can mention, for example, there is a village in Panipat where you were born, then you can search which is the nearest post office belong to that particular village, then they will mention that post office and you are going to write the name of that post office only. So you have a proper research while filling this post office part. Then city, town, village, district, state and pin code. I hope there should not be any issue while filling all these parts. For example, wherever, even if you are born outside India, then they are not going to mention you the specific things, they are just going to mention you that in which country you were born, right? Then community. If you are unreserved, then you can actually mention unreserved. Other than that, you can mention if your community is OBC, SC, ST, okay, and EWS. So those community you need to mention here. You cannot lie here. If you have already, applied as a EWS candidate in prelims examination, you are going to write the same here. Don't change it here, right? Because then it is not going to be good. So you need to mention the same which you have written in your prelims DAF, okay, while you were filling your prelims detailed application form, right? Then UPSC is going to ask you if you are from some category, for example, if you have SC, ST or OBC or EWS category, then they will ask you about the certificate number. So obviously you are going to have a certificate, you are going to mention the number of the certificates. Most of the time the number certificate, for example, if this is your certificate for, let's say, OBC, then either here or here the number of certificate is written, okay, certificate number. So that number you are going to write in front of this. Then the date of issue is also mentioned on the certificate only. You need not to find it somewhere else. Date of issue is very much mentioned on your certificate. Designation of issuing authority is also mentioned. In the end, whoever is going to sign, so there is going to be a box where there will be a sign of a particular authority. Sometimes the sign will be of DM, sometimes sign can be of Tehsildar, okay. So you need to mention the exact authority who have signed your certificate, okay, your caste certificate or your community certificate. So you mention the name, for example, if Tehsildar is the one, you will mention Tehsildar, right? And the address of issuing authority, from where and in which office that particular Tehsildar or DM is sitting. So you are going to mention the address of that particular office, right? You need to mention the detailed address here. You just mention the very specific part of that particular office, okay? Or you can just mention the office of district magistrate. You can just mention that also. Now, then UPSC is going to ask you name of the caste which is mentioned in your community certificate. For example, if you are, let's say you are Yadav from Uttar Pradesh, then here you can mention Yadav. Here you will mention that you are OBC, okay, in the community part, and when there is a mention of the caste, you will mention the exact caste which is written on your certificate. We all know that on certificate the caste is also written. Now if you are EWS, then they are not going to ask you this, right? If you belong to any minority community notified by the government, and who are the minorities? If you are a Muslim, if you are a Christian, you are a Sikh, even then you are a minority. And if you are a Buddhist, if you are a Zoroastrian, Parsi and Jain. So all these community will be considered as a minority community, and you need to mention that yes or not. For example, if you are from Jain community, you will say yes, but if you are not from minority community, for example, if you are Hindu, then you are going to mention no, you don't belong to minority community, right? Then if yes, name of the minority community, then you need to mention here Jain. So there will be these options only, these 7 options you have, and out of this whatever you are going to mention that. Okay. Now UPSC is going to ask you the detail that are you a PWBD or PWD candidate or not, okay, physically handicapped candidate. Okay. If you are not, you will simply mention no, and there will be so many details which you need not to fill. But if you are a PWBD candidate, then you will mention yes. Then they will ask you the exact category. That category will also be written on your certificate. If you have that certificate, that category will be directly mentioned on that certificate. You find it and you mention 1, 2, 3, 4. There are the signs you mention in front of your category. Then indicate form type of the certificate of disability. So you need to mention the kind of the type of the form, which is also mentioned on your certificate only. Percentage of disability as indicated in the certificate of disability. For example, it's 40% or it is 60%. Mostly it is between 40 to 60%. So you need to mention that also. Number of the certificate, like in the OBC one, date of the issue, and the authority who is going to issue your certificate. All this information you will get on your certificate only. You need not to go anywhere for that. Now, full address of issuing authority, same. For example, it's if the issuing authority is Tehsildar or the DM, then you need to mention the address where that particular DM and Tehsildar was serving at that point of time. Now, are you a PWBD and PWD candidate having physical limitation to write? For example, if someone can write with his or her hands, then they don't need a scribe. Scribe means someone who can write your examination on your behalf. Okay, you will speak and they are going to write your answer. For example, if there are blind candidates, okay, who cannot see, for them it is very necessary, they need a scribe. Scribe means someone who is going to write the examination for them. Now, if you fall on that category, on that part, if you have physical limitation, then you need to upload a scanned copy of the requisite certificate. Okay, so where you are going to, here you are not going to mention, obviously they will ask you to upload and you will upload in that upload section, right? Now, do you want to avail compensatory time? If you want to avail compensatory time, if you want to avail more time, other than that your paper will be of 3 hours, but if you want more than 3 hours, you need to mention here yes. Then another, would you require scribe in the examination? Someone who is going to write examination on your behalf? Yes. This is only for these candidate, okay, PWBD and PWD candidate, not for the general candidate. Now, then UPSC actually giving you some information about the scribe only. Okay, so this whole information is about the people with or students, candidate with disability, right? Now, would you require any assistive device? If you have to mention that device, because if you are carrying something which is assisting in your physical movement in general, for example a wheelchair, then you are going to mention that device there. Would you require question paper in larger font size? That also you need to mention. If you are not a general candidate, then you need to leave all these parts. The moment you will fill here, no, you are not a PWBD candidate, then all these column will be freezed for you. Okay, so don't worry about filling this form. You need not to write anything there if you don't belong to PWBD or PWD category. Now, then UPSC will ask you about, have you ever been a candidate in UPSC examination as a PWBD candidate? If yes, you need to mention yes, and then you need to give the detail of the examination, year of the examination and the roll number also. Now, it is not about the only about the UPSC CSE examination. So, here UPSC asking about any examination which is being conducted by UPSC. If no, then you will say no, these columns will be freezed for you. You need not to mention anything here. Then, whether such recommendation was on the basis of certificate of disability now uploaded by you for the CSE 2025. Obviously, if yes, if you are that candidate, you will mention yes. Otherwise, if you are general candidate, you will mention no, right? After any such recommendation by the UPSC, were you ever found unfit or not recommended by the Central Standing Medical Board or any other medical board? If you already have these issues, you need to mention here that yes, because you know every service have a specific requirements. I think you know that if you belong to PWBD category, that whatever kind of physical disability you have, that with that disability can you become IPS or IAS or not, or you can only become IAS officer. So there are differences in that, right? Choice of examination, so you are going to mention, so there will be many choices. Delhi is not going to be the only choice, but you are going to mention the center of examination for your mains exam, right? Okay, so you are not going to mention where you have written your prelims. It can be the same, but you here the center of examination means what you need, where you need to give your mains examination. Now next column is very important. Now the UPSC is going to ask you about paper A for your mains examination. First, Indian language examination. Now UPSC will ask you, do you hail from Arunachal Pradesh, Manipur, Meghalaya, Mizoram, Nagaland or Sikkim, right? And are claiming exemption from appearing in Indian language paper A. So the student hailing from these states, Arunachal Pradesh, Manipur, Meghalaya, Mizoram, Nagaland and Sikkim, most of the northeastern state except two states, Assam and Tripura, it is not exempted for the student who hail from Assam and Tripura, but this Indian language paper is exempted for the student who are from these particular state. Okay. For example, if you are from Arunachal Pradesh, then you will mention here yes, but if you are from Bihar, you will here mention no, right? So this is how you are going to mention. Now, are you a PWBD candidate falling under deaf or hard of hearing category and seeking exemption for appearing in Indian language paper A? It means student who have the who are falling under the deaf and hard to hearing ability, they don't have much understanding of the language, okay, not much understanding. So they need not to appear for Indian language paper. So Indian language paper is exempted for few people, for example, people falling under this particular PWBD category, and the second, the student who hail from these states. Why? Because these states are mostly tribal states and they don't have any language which is mentioned in the schedule 8 of our constitution, right? Because those language only you can choose. For example, if a person who hail from Mizoram, maybe he doesn't know Hindi and he doesn't even know Assamese, so how he is going to write your paper A? Okay, so that's why those students are exempted from giving your Indian language paper. Okay, English language paper everyone has to give. Okay, so you cannot go away from the English language paper. Now UPSC will ask you which is going to be your language paper. Now, if in your first part of a DAF, when you were filling your prelims examination, if you have mentioned any language, okay, for example, you are from Gujarat, you are from Maharashtra, you are very good with Marathi also, you are very good with Hindi also. So both language you know. But in the first part, you have mentioned Marathi as your paper 1 language. Here you can change it. Okay. Now you can here mention any language which is the part of schedule 8. For example, these languages, there are 22 languages. So Assamese, Bengali, Bodo, Dogri, Gujarati, Hindi, except English. Most of the language are Indian languages are part of our schedule 8 only. So one language you need to pick and there will be a paper A based on that language only, and that paper will be qualifying paper only. So their marks are not going to be calculated, but if you fail in your Indian language paper, then your mains answers, papers, other paper, GS paper 1 to 4 and your optional paper are not going to be even checked. So first you need to remember it's a qualifying paper and the marks are not going to be included in the final merit list. Then language of medium for the examination, right? Now you need to mention your optional subject for the paper 6 and 7. Okay, so optional you need to mention here. For example, if your optional is geography, you will mention geography. If it's sociology, you are going to mention your sociology. Okay, make sure you are writing the right optional. For example, if you have written sociology and you are preparing for geography, UPSC will give you the paper of sociology only. Okay, so this is the time you actually have to finally decide this is going to be your option. Obviously you have decided, but even if there are few candidates who are still indecisive that in which what optional they are going to take, so this time finally you have to write. After that you cannot change it. Now language medium for the paper. Now you all know that you can write your mains examination in any of the 22 languages, right? You can write in any of the 22 languages. So you just need to mention that particular language. So if it is Hindi, you will mention Hindi. If it is English, you will mention English, right? So essay and GS you need to give in one particular language. You cannot have different language for essay and different for general studies, okay? There has to be one language. But optional you can change your language. Why UPSC is asking different language for your optional subject? For example, a person who is preparing for UPSC, let's say in English medium, but that person has taken Bengali literature as optional. So he is going to write Bengali in Bengali script only, na, right? So then he is going to mention my language medium is going to be Bengali. For example, someone who is preparing examination in English, going to give their mains in English language, but Hindi literature is their optional. So here they are going to mention Hindi as a language medium for examination. So make sure, especially those students who have taken language as your optional subject, literature as your optional subject, so you make sure you are going to mention here the proper language in which you are going to write your examination. If you have taken Tamil literature, you need to mention here Tamil. If you have taken Telugu literature, if you have taken Sanskrit literature or Hindi literature, you need to mention that particular language here in which you are going to write your optional paper, right? In case of Sindhi and Santhali, the type of script you should be indicated by the candidate. It means if you have chosen Santhali and Sindhi as a language to write your mains examination, or let's say your optional subject, then you need to mention the script. Then you need to write it in, for example, when it comes to Sindhis, you can write Sindhi in Gurumukhi also, you can write Sindhi in Devanagari also. So you need to mention that particular thing. Same with the Santhali, okay, in which script you want to write the Santhali. Now language medium, okay, you need to be careful about it, because if whatever you are going to mention here, you need to write the same in the examination, otherwise it will be a contradiction. Then language medium for interview, here you can change. For example, if you have taken English as a language in your for appearing for the mains examination, or all of your GS papers and essay you are writing in English, still you can give your interview in your own regional language. But if you want to give it in English, then you mention English. If you want to give it in Hindi, you can change it and you can mention Hindi also, and any other language, for example Telugu, Tamil and the other language as well. Now the name of the father, now the detail of the father and the mother is being taken by UPSC. Now name of the father you need to mention, then status means he is alive or deceased, then name of the mother, then the status, alive or deceased, then the nationality of your mother and father, mostly it will be Indian only. If it's not, you need to mention that also. Then you need to mention the profession your father and mother. For example, if your father is a doctor, you just need to mention your father is doctor, right? You need not to mention the detail of it, right? You can mention, but try to keep it concised. The same with the mother. My suggestion, if your mother is a housewife, then don't mention the word housewife, mention the word homemaker. Okay, homemaker is a better word these. Now, if the father is in service, service means any government service, defense services, civil services and any services which is a government service, then the post held by him you need to write. For example, if your father is an IAS officer, you need to mention Indian Administrative Service. If he is an IR officer, you need to mention Indian Revenue Services. If he is a superintendent in Customs Department, you need to mention a superintendent in Customs Department or in Income Tax, right? If he is retired, we need to indicate the post held by him at the time of his retirement, okay? At that last post you need to mention. And otherwise you need to fill non-applicable. For example, if he is still not retired, he is an IAS officer, then you have to mention here non-applicable, that's it. Okay. Now the same with the mother. If your mother is in service, you need to mention the post held by her. If she is retired, then you need to mention the last post that was held by her when she was retired, and if she is still in services, not retired, then you need to write here or click the button of non-applicable, right? Now the annual income your father and your mother you need to mention for the financial year 2023-24. Okay, how would you know that? You can go to your father and ask about his financial statement, or if the income tax return he have filled. Okay, from there you can actually have this information. Then what is the actual annual income of your father? The same with the mother. If your mother is homemaker, you can actually write 0 here. Okay, you can actually write. But if your mother is having some rental income from somewhere, you need to give detail of that. Okay, you need to add all the income of your father alongside that. Not only the income he is earning from his job. So we are going to mention the other. If you have a small business or a big business, then you need to mention that income. Now, look, if you are not an EWS candidate or a OBC candidate, so you need not to worry about it. But if you are an OBC or EWS candidate, so your income, whatever you are going to write, should be aligned with the income certificate of your OBC and EWS. Okay, please make sure of it. That you have an EWS certificate, but here you are mentioning your father is an IAS officer and he earning 1 crore rupees, okay, from the other sources also. So that you need not to mention, you be very careful about it. Okay, now the state to which your father originally belongs, okay, you need to mention. For example, even if you people are living in Delhi, but you belongs to Muzaffarpur in Bihar, then you need to mention that particular state, and along with the district from which your father belongs. The same with the mother originally belong to which district, and the which state and which district. Okay, now your father's present postal address and your mother's present postal address, mostly it will be same only. If different, you mention the different address for both. Now in the next part, UPSC is going to ask you about your educational qualification. So do you possess the prescribed educational qualification? Okay, prescribed educational qualification, what is it? It is the graduation. Then do you have it? Then you need to answer yes. But if you haven't have your final degree of your graduation yet, then you will be mentioning no here. Okay, most of the cases, if you are writing your mains examination, and right now we are here in June, then obviously all of you have your graduation certificate in your hands. But if you don't have, then you can here mention yes, and then if you can easily get your degree later also. So don't even worry about mentioning no here. So it is not a crime, not something that they won't let you to sit in the examination. Okay, if you don't have final a copy of your certificate, because you have to scan that copy of certificate and you need to upload it. If you don't have it, you just simply mention no, and later on at the time of interview also you can show your final certificate of your graduation, but it is going to be in a very rare cases. Now you need to mention the name, certificate number or the enrollment number that is there on your final degree. Then you need to mention the date of issue from where you will get these information. These information will be there on your final certificate, graduation certificate only. Okay, and here the information, even if you are a postgraduate or PhD, but here the information you will give is your graduation certificate only, graduation degree. Okay, don't mention here the information about your post graduation degree, because you need to mention the minimum requirement certificate here. Okay, so date of issue, this is actually not you are going to write, you are going to write the date of issue which is actually mentioned on your certificate. Then designation of issuing authority, mostly it is registrar only, and then the full address, it is just the registrar office. You need not to mention the full address of your college or university, just mention the office of registrar in particular university. For example, you hail from Punjab University, then you will mention office registrar of Punjab University, right? So this is how you are going to do that. Now, do you have the basic educational qualification or higher education qualification obtained from a foreign institution? Okay. For example, let's say when you were a child, you were living in Dubai or Abu Dhabi, then you were going in a particular school there. You need to mention that if you even if you have done your basic education from there, okay, basic education also and your higher education also. So both, not only higher education, both, even if you have done 1 or 2 classes, let's say your 5th and 6th you have done from Abu Dhabi, or you were in Canada and then you came back to India, then you need to mention that. Along with that, if you have gone outside the country for higher education, if you have done outside to do your MS degree, then you need to mention that as well. Here you will say yes. If you haven't done anything from any foreign institution and you didn't go there, then you just mention here no. Okay. If you have mentioned here yes, that yes, I was doing my, or I have done my schooling from outside, even if it's for 1 or 2 years, or if you have taken your graduation or the post graduation from outside here, then you need to give the details of those educational qualifications. So you need to mention the detail. If they are, for example, if you have taken 2 degrees, you need to mention those 2 degrees and name of the foreign institution. For example, if you had done something from Stanford University, then you will say that MS from Stanford University. Okay. Other than that, if you have done your schooling, let's say from Abu Dhabi, then you will mention that I have done my these classes from a school and name of the institution. You will mention the name of the exact school from where you have taken your education. Now, if you have obtained school leaving certificate from abroad, for example, if you have done 2 classes from abroad, then you need to mention that yes, I have taken a school leaving certificate there. Does the certificate or degree have the recognition equivalent to the Association of Indian University or UGC? Mostly it will be yes only, okay, mostly. Okay. So, if you are confused about it, that your university is designated by UGC or not, you just search it on internet, on the website of UGC, you will get the list of the institution which are actually foreign institution which are recognized by UGC, right? This is applicable to your higher degrees and your graduation degrees, not your school certificates. Don't worry about that your school's name is not mentioned in the recognition list of UGC, but the name of your university, if you have done your graduation and post graduation from outside, so that should be mentioned there. Now, if you have taken your degree from outside, then you need to upload a scanned copy of the relevant proof of the recognition letter also, right? Now the UPSC is going to ask you about your educational qualification, right? So what all we are going to mention here? Here first you need to mention your 10th or equivalent. No need to mention your 6th, 7th or 8th. Mention your first 10th or equivalents if you have done something else. Then you are going to mention your 12th. Then you are going to mention your graduation. For example, if you have done BTech, if you have done BSc, then there will be BSc. If you have done only BA, okay, then you are going to mention, if you have done your MBBS, so you will mention all those acronym here. Then the class, division, grade, it means first division, second division, or if you don't know the division, it is not even mentioned on your certificate, you can outrightly leave these areas. You can just mention no, not applicable, not applicable and not applicable. Then the percentage of marks. For example, there are no mention of percentage of marks, but there is a mention of CGPA. So obviously out of these two, one thing is definitely going to mention, but on some certificate, the both are mentioned, percentage also and GPAs also. For example, let's say in your 10th certificate, your percentage is not mentioned, but your score CGPA is mentioned. Okay, let's say it's 9.8. So you will mention here, and you can leave this part, percentage part you can leave. Either you need to fill this part or you need to fill this part. Or if the both are mentioned, then you can mention both as. And then you are going to mention your year of passing. For example, in 12th, if your percentage are mentioned, then you just mention the percentage. Okay, then year of passing, then the subject. In the 10th or equivalent, the subjects will be almost same only, Hindi, English, Mathematics, Social Sciences, or any other particular subject you have taken or language you have taken. Then here it will change. For example, if you have done your 12th from science stream, then you will mention physics, chemistry, mathematics, biology. If you have done from arts, then you are going to mention your, for example, whatever were the subject. For example, if you have taken geography, history, you are going to mention those subjects. Then the name of your institution, here there will be the name of your school from where you did your 10th. Here will be the name of the school from where you have done your 12th. And then you need to mention your name of the board or university. For example, if you have done your 10th and 12th from CBSE or ICSE, or let's say, Uttar Pradesh board, state board can also be mentioned here, okay. Or if you have done your 10th or 12th from outside country, then you can mention the board of that outside country also, right. Then your graduation part, in the graduation part also again you need to mention either your percentage or your CGPA. If only CGPA is mentioned in your certificate, you need not to mention your percentage. If only percentage is mentioned on your certificate, you need not to mention your CGPA, right. Then your passing year, and then your stream, and along with that university. In many cases, there will be one institution to be filled here and here. For example, if you have done your BTech from a particular IIT, let's say if you are a graduate of IIT Kharagpur, in the both column there will be IIT Kharagpur only. But if let's say you have done your graduation from DAV College Chandigarh, then here there will be DAV College, and here there will be the university which gives recognition to this particular college, that is, let's say, Punjab. Okay, so this is how you can say that. Otherwise, in these both column, one name of one institution can be there. Okay? So don't worry about that what to write in the second column. Now, if you have taken any higher education, for example, post-graduation or your doctorate degree, then you need to mention here, and with the same procedure like you have mentioned your school education and your graduate degree. Then, have you ever been employed? So UPSC is going to take information about have you ever employed. Either you were employed in government service or in private sector, you need to mention that. So if you have ever been employed, you need to mention here yes first. Now, if yes, are you in government or public service sector? If yes, then you need to mention. If no, if you were in private sector, then you will mention here no. But even if you were in private sector, you need to mention the detail of your employment. For example, if you were in Infosys, then you need to mention the post. For example, let's say you were a manager there, then you need to mention your monthly salary. Then you need to mention it was a permanent post or it was a temporary one. Then you need to mention the period to which you were actually doing your job, and then you need to mention the name of the employer or the organization. Okay, so you will mention, and the place of the employment also. For example, if you were working in Bangalore, then you will mention Bangalore. Now the UPSC is going to ask you about have you ever been self-employed. If yes, you will say yes. If no, you will say no. If you are going to say yes, I have started a startup or I was doing a family business, then you will mention the detail here. Okay, right, and along with your monthly income. Now UPSC is going to ask you, have you ever been debarred by UPSC from any of its examination or selections? In most of the cases it will be no, but if you have been debarred, then you are actually going to mention that yes, right. Now then UPSC will ask you about the examination, UPSC examination which you have already given previously, except the examination you have given right now. Now whether you have applied for UPSC examination or recruitment excluding the current examination, it means you are not going to give detail of your prelims 2025, because that is the examination you have given and you have cleared also. So that information you need not to give. But if you have taken your attempt previously, for example, if in 2024 also you have appeared, in 23 or in 22, you need to give detail of that. If you have reached to the mains level, you need to give that detail. If you have reached to interview level, you need to give that detail separately. For example, here you will mention civil services preliminary examination. For example, if you have given in May of 2023, you will mention here. You will mention your roll number. If you don't remember your roll number, you just mention 000. Don't worry much about it. Then you need to mention here whether appeared at the examination. It means you actually went at the center to give the exam or not. Then have you qualified for mains in this particular examination or not? If no, you just say no, otherwise you will say yes. Have you ever appeared for interview? So you need to give all the information. Okay, if you have gone to the other stages in this particular examination or no. Okay, so you will give the detail. You are not going to mention this present. Now, this is not only about the UPSC CSC. If you have given your CDS examination, let's say, that is also being conducted by UPSC, so you will give definition. If you have given examination of CAPF, that also you need to mention. Okay, any examination being held by UPSC, we need to mention that. Now, how many times you have appeared at civil services pre-examination? Now they are actually asking about the attempts you have taken in this particularly UPSC CSC exam. Then you need to mention, yes, I have appeared 3 times before. Here also you are not going to mention 2025 attempt. You will mention the attempts you have taken previously, 2022, 2023 and 2024, right? Now, then UPSC is going to ask you about the roll numbers. The candidates who are not in position of their roll number for the previous examination are advised to fill 000 in place of their roll numbers, right? Now, have you ever accepted allocation to a service on the basis of civil service examination held in earlier years? For example, you have given your 2024 exam and you secured a good rank and now you are an IRS officer already. This time also, for the improvement of rank, you have given your attempt, you cleared your prelims examination, you are appearing for mains. Then you need to mention that, yes, I have already cleared this examination previously. But here you will only mention if you have finally cleared it. For example, if you have reached till interview stage, then you need not to mention anything here. But if a particular service has already been allocated to you, then you need to mention that. And you need to mention the other details such as the year of that civil service examination and the name of the post which you got and your particular roll number for that examination, and whether you have appointed or joined that particular post or not. That also you need to mention. Whether you are going to continue in that service or post, that also you need to mention, right? I am suggesting you will write yes only here. Okay. Now, if you have resigned, then you need to mention the acceptance of registration, resignation by the competent authority. Now you need to give the particularity of your university, state and national level prizes, medals and all other different information. So here now, when you were filling your DAF for the prelims examination, at that point of time also UPSC have asked these information, but now you can change that as well. Okay, it is not necessary need to mention everything as it is. You can change it. For example, now what everyone has, this is actually the most debatable part of the UPSC's DAF. So, which level, okay, your achievements of which level you can mention. UPSC actually give you state, national, university level achievement only to mention, okay. But my suggestion is, when it comes to the prizes, medal and scholarship, you can mention the prizes, medal and scholarship which you got at school level as well, okay. If you have gone to, even if you have gone to district level also, though it's not specifically mentioned, if you have reached, for example, if there was a declamation competition and you have reached till district level, you can mention that, okay. And at the school level achievement also you can mention. Obviously, you need not to mention that you got first prize in Hindi, Sulekh writing in your 6th class. Okay. If the achievement is significant, even if it is at school level, you can actually mention. For example, you were a member of a particular society which has done something good, then you will mention. Then if you are part of any sports activity, even if it is at school level, obviously college, university level is definitely you need to mention. or if you were the part of the National Cadet Corps, that is NCC. So you need to mention the detail. Then the position of the distinction and leadership held in school or college. Here the school word is actually mentioned, so you can write everything. For example, even if you are a head girl or head boy in your school, so it is a kind of a leadership position, you will mention that. You were the captain of your football team, then you are going to mention that also. So any position which actually show the leadership, even if you were a class monitor, that also you can mention here, because that is also a leadership position held by you at a school level. College level, university level, definitely you can mention. Other than that, the other extracurricular activity and interests such as hobbies. So what you are going to mention here, so there are going to be so many queries. If you have a particular hobby, for example, if you have a hobby of singing and you have actually pursuing that hobby, there can be two kind of singing, okay? You can be a bathroom singer and you can be a professional singer, but you can be somewhere in between also. So even if you are somewhere in between, you can mention singing as a hobby, and you can mention in particular what kind of songs you like to sing, okay? You can actually mention you like watching movie, or you like watching web series, or a particular web series, you like watching these podcasts and all. So whatever is your interest, that is you only you can find out what are your hobbies and interests. So you can mention it here. Make sure your hobbies or your interests are not bizarre. It means they should look good here, okay? They should not look something that a person who is aspiring to become an IAS officer should have or not, okay? So you cannot mention something that is not much acceptable by the society. Try to refrain away from it, okay? It's just my suggestion. You are also intelligent, you will do that by yourself. Then if you are a good dancer, if you have interest in classical dance, then you can mention here. If you hail from tribal area, then your tribal culture is obviously very rich. Then you can mention knowing about your tribe, culture of your tribe and all. So you can mention all these things here. So this is open to everything. It is actually very much open to interpretations also, but all activities can be a part of your interest and extracurricular hobby. There is nothing right and nothing wrong, okay? So you can be innovative about it. Just whatever you are going to write, make sure you have knowledge about it, okay? For example, if you are writing that you like playing badminton but you have never played badminton, then that can be a disaster in interview. Along with that, because this DAF is going to be utilized in your interview as well, right? So don't worry, you need to be very careful about it. So this was actually all about our, okay, there are other columns also, okay, this is the important one. Then you need to, this is also the tricky part, okay, this is the preference to the services, okay, which preference you want to give. So you can see that there is the mention of the 23 services and there are columns. Then how you are going to fill it? Obviously it will be up to you. I can only give you direction in which direction you can go. For example, in the first three columns there is Indian Administrative Service, Indian Foreign Service and Indian Police Service. Then you have your Indian Revenue Service Custom and your Indian Revenue Service Income Tax. So the service which I have ticked, these 5 services are the most important services, but now it is your discretion which service you want to put at a higher scale, okay? But my suggestion is your first preference should be from these 5 services only. It is not very advisable to put Indian Defence Estate Service on your number 1, okay? In my suggestion, you need to choose, it is better to choose your first preference from these 3 services. And in the most cases, the student choose Indian Administrative Service as their first in their order of preference, but you can actually have Indian Foreign Service also as a first choice and Indian Police Service also as a first choice. But most of the cases, you can actually mention Indian Administrative Service as your first, Indian Administrative Services first in the order of preference. Then you have Indian Police Service and Foreign Service. Look, if you are a general candidate and if you are going to mention IPS is your second service and IFS as your third service, then you are not going to get IFS. Okay, because if you have already chosen IAS and IPS. Then if your Indian Foreign Service is your third order of preference, you won't get it. If you really want to get selected in Indian Foreign Services, then you put IFS either at 2 or at 1. Okay, this is my suggestion. Okay, otherwise you won't get it. So my suggestion here is you put IAS as your first preference, your IPS as your second preference, and you can put IFS as your third preference. Even if you don't want to go outside this country, even then you can put IFS as your third preference, because you won't get it anyway if you are a general candidate or in general also. Only you will get IFS only if it is your first or second preference, because it is not very easy to get IFS also. Then there are these two services, that is Indian Revenue Services Custom and Indian Revenue Services Income Tax. Obviously the both services are good, but these days, according to the trend, people or the student prefer customs more as compared to income tax. So the third three preferences are here. Then you can mention customs as your fourth and income tax as your 5. Now, obviously you can change these orders, but my suggestion is your first 5 preference should be these 5 only. Okay, other services other than these 5 services are not as, as challenging as these 5 services. So my suggestion is go for these 5 first, then you can mention the other service. Then it is up to you. Let me tell you which services are actually good, which you can have better, which services you can give better preference. For example, in defense services, Indian Defense and Account Services is a very good services. When we talk about the defense estate services, you can give, later preference, but you can mention accounts above. Along with that, when it comes to railway management, then again in railway management, this railway management service accounts again is very good, and along with that Indian Post Communication Account Services also good. So these services you can give better preference as compared to their counterparts in IRMS, Indian Railway Management Services. Okay, and these services you can mention after that. Okay? So this is how you can go. So after 5 preferences are already there, so on the 6th number you can mention this. Okay, in 7th number, okay, try to give Indian Railway Services at 6th place and 7th place. So this is how you can proceed with your services. Now the services which you can see here, so this is again, these are the group B services. From here, from 19 to 23, you have group B services. If you don't want to go into group B service, then you fill everything first, then you fill these posts and the last. But these two particular services, Dynix and Dynips, okay, these two services are also good. Sometimes students prefer these services, but obviously not before Indian Defense Account Service or Indian Railway Management Service. Okay, after that you can give preference to 20 and 21. Then these you can have at these positions only, 22 and 23 only. Trade service also you can have the later preference, and here also in information service also you can have the later preference. So my suggestion is how to fill top 5 services. So these are the ones which are actually going to matter. So if you want to become an IPS, okay, it is your dream to become an IPS officer, then you mention IPS as your first preference. Okay, if you want to become Indian Foreign Service IFS only, then you mention IFS as your first preference, then you go to IAS. But obviously if you want to become IAS, you mention IAS as your first preference. Sometimes students do that, but they mention IRS as their first preference, then they go to IAS, IFS and IPS. Nothing wrong in that, but be ready for the answer, because in the interview then they will definitely ask you, why don't you want to serve in IAS, IFS and IPS and you want to serve in IRS? So why is that? So you need to be prepared with the answer. If you are mentioning IRS as your first preference, okay, don't mention it 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8. You need to think about it. You need to have a proper research, and then you give your preferences, right? Now, then these are the fee payment detail. You need not to mention the moment you are going to pay. Those information will be there automatically. Okay. Then you need to give the proof of your photo ID. Try to give Aadhaar only. You can give your voter ID and other proof, ID proof as well, right? Now the certificates which you need to upload, your graduation certificate, right? Your proof, ID proof you need to give, and along with that your matriculation certificate, school leaving certificate, date of birth certificate is the same matriculation one, so you need to mention that also. Okay, it doesn't mean that you need to give all these certificate. You only give your matriculation certificate, everything else will be taken care of. You only need to give Aadhaar card certificate only, not every voter card, PAN and passport, everything, no. Only one out of these. Here also only one out of these. Here you need to give your graduation degree, graduation certificates also, and you can give the degree as well. Okay. So all these information you need to mention. Then there will be disclaimer, and then you have to sign finally. You need to sign each and every page also. Okay. You need to sign each and every page of this detailed application form. So there will be signature at everywhere. Okay. I hope I have cleared most of your doubts. Even after that, there are some doubts which are still remaining. Okay, you can ask in the comment section. Okay, I will try to solve your queries. So thank you so much. Let's end this session. Have a very nice day and goodbye.